Let's go back to a time when Meghan Markle and Prince Harry were the underdogs leaving the royal life, speaking out against the establishment and drawing attention from all over the world. At that time, they had the attention, sympathy, and support of some major Hollywood power players, and Tyler Perry was the only person who stood taller in their corner. He did more than just offer words of encouragement. Kate gave them his real home, yes. It's a multi-million-dollar mansion to help them. Their safe haven when things were falling apart. And according to insiders, Perry even took on the role of godfather. To their daughter Lilith, that kind of support isn't casual. It's a full-on statement. However, now that support seems to be strategically eroding, and Meghan can sense it. Tyler Perry hasn't made any audacious public announcements, but sometimes silence speaks louder than any press release ever could. You must realize that Perry wasn't just a Hollywood connection. He was one of their last devoted allies in a world that was beginning to change. When he accepted the Godfather role, it felt like confirmation that even though the royals had shut them out, powerful voices in America were still supportive of them. Now that foundation is crumbling, and when a man like Perry backs away, people start countering why Meghan's entire image has been built around strength, survival, and defiance against antiquated systems. But that narrative only works when people are just nodding along with Tyler backing off and others going quiet. The applause is waning, the glow is fading, and Hollywood, which once welcomed them, is beginning to fold them, asking why this isn't just a personal blow for Meghan even. Magazines and other media are shifting their tone. Once cordial and understanding, the relationship with Meghan and Harry recently changed completely. Rather than complimenting Meghan's most recent endeavors or reiterating her side of the story, they highlighted Princess Catherine's grace, strength, and resilience. Meghan's name was nowhere to be seen, and that silence struck a deep chord because, for years, Meghan and Harry thrived on the notion that they were the media is gradually retreating. Audiences are growing weary, and Meghan's attempts to control the narrative are beginning to appear more like panic than power. Meanwhile, Prince Harry isn't exactly holding things down on his end. People close to him say he's feeling more lost, misunderstood. Rebels are fighting against unfair treatment. But there's a fine line between being bold and being exhausting. And now many people are leaning toward the latter. Because of Tyler Perry's withdrawal, Harry's loneliness is becoming painfully apparent. He is reportedly missing the life he left behind, the structure, the purpose, and the sense of identity that came from being a part of the royal machine. But returning home is causing his relationships back home to become irreparably strained, and the celebrity circle that once embraced him to feel more distant. That door isn't just shut. Most likely, it's locked. Returning to the UK will provide challenging questions. Tyler Perry's quiet departure isn't just another Hollywood friendship eroding. It's a couple standing in the wreckage of their own making, the bridges ahead shaky at best, and the bridges behind them burned. Awkward reunions, and a public that no longer sees him as the cheeky, relatable prince they once adored. A warning sign, a reality check, and a warning Hollywood was supposed to offer a new beginning, freedom, and purpose for fame, but instead it's beginning to feel like a gilded cage. Prince Harry's situation is beginning to look less like a planned break from the monarchy and more like a slow-motion unraveling behind the designer suits and carefully curated interviews. He's reportedly relying more on therapy and personal development, coaches to help him make sense of the decisions he's made, and insiders say he spends more time alone these days, restless and reflective, haunted by a version of himself that he can't quite return to. The self-assured young prince who once hugged schoolchildren and joked with soldiers seems like a memory. And for all the bold statements and podcast launches, appearances in public aligning with Meghan and Harry used to be a badge of honor. But now it's a risk, and the headlines aren't about breaking barriers. Harry's regret is the only thing he can't seem to get rid of. And what makes it worse is the growing realization that the very people they thought would support them no matter what Hollywood elites, progressive media, even longtime friends are. Stepping back not necessarily out of spite, but rather out of self-preservation. These days, they're about blunders, inconsistencies, and an overexposed brand that's having trouble staying afloat. Even in the celebrity world, there's a code. When a titan with decades of credibility and goodwill, like Tyler Perry, decides to distance himself, it sends a ripple through the industry. And people take notice. They don't need explanations. They watch who shows up, who doesn't, and who abruptly stops talking. When silence takes the place of support, it gets oldum unintentional. Meghan is apparently in full damage control mode, holding strategy sessions with PR experts and float ideas for a public relaunch. She isn't just watching this happen. Some claim she is resuming her activism in an effort to support organizations that divert attention from the royal repercussions, while others claim she is considering a new documentary series that would focus on her humanitarian endeavors rather than her family turmoil. The messenger is the problem, not the message. Even the most admirable cause can be overshadowed by the noise if public trust is declining and the public's patience is currently running low. What began as an engrossing diversion from royal customs has evolved into an endless tale. Viewers, listeners, and readers who formerly supported them are becoming increasingly wary of them and feel as though they are caught in a never-ending cycle of grievances, inconsistencies, and meticulous staged susceptibility. The media has also noticed. Former Lee red carpet sites are now writing behind the scenes, and their tone has changed from being flattering of the royal family to being more critical of the Sussex editorials, which previously commended Meghan's courage, to now subtly removing her name entirely. This is not censorship. It's approach even inside royal walls. Nobody wants to be caught in the middle as the story begins to fall apart, because distance means safety. Something has changed. According to reports, senior royals who previously hoped for reconciliation are no longer holding their breath. Every new documentary lawsuit or media spectacle from across the ocean erodes the shaky hope that things might one day return to normal. The monarchy has survived storms before, but according to sources, King Charles is heartbroken but firm. His silence isn't passive. Rather, it's protective of the institution, the legacy, and possibly even himself. This one is nasty and intimate. And Meghan is aware that her inner circle is getting smaller despite her meticulously constructed empire of influence. Since there are fewer defenders willing to speak up, and every day brings a new rumor. Headline: and Hollywood connection, sympathetic press, and powerful friends feel less like a fortress and more like a house of cards. The deliberate silence from people like Tyler Perry is not only emotionally painful, but also strategically damaging. If private, Meghan is said to be frustrated and angry, not only at the royal family and the media, but also at the way the narrative has shifted against her despite all of her efforts. From her point of view, she is playing by the rules of modern fame, which are to speak your truth, build your brand, and fight for what you believe in. However, the public is erratic and the same. What does that say to everyone else? She is aware that the audience that previously applauded now ignores it or judges it as they scroll by. According to insiders, she is meeting with crisis managers to reconsider all of her actions and consider radical reimaginings. There are discussions about taking a break from the limelight for a while to allow people to miss them, or about doubling down and being louder, larger, and more unapologetic. But both strategies have risks. You become a parody the louder you get. In any case, there is no longer any room for mistake, and Harry is currently coping with a different type of catastrophe. The quiet sort, not the kind that makes headlines, but the kind that keeps you up at 2 a.m. Insiders say he is becoming more and more reclusive, unsure of his place in the once promising Hollywood life. The royal realm he left behind feels inaccessible, and the middle. There is no such thing as ground. He is a guy without a home base, Some close to him claim he's thinking of returning to the UK more frequently, not to resume royal duties, but to experience something familiar. Others claim he's attempting to process years of change, resentment, and loss by going deeper into therapy. He's a father, husband, former prince, and public figure, but none of those roles seem to fit him well. Lalit, their kid, is still too little to recognize the chaos that surrounds her family. But even her presence has taken on symbolic meaning. Her godfather's departure is more than just a news story. It's a reminder of the instability her parents are dealing with, and a reminder that the life they had in mind when they left the palace is becoming increasingly unattainable behind the scenes, with pressure building from all directions. Sponsors seek answers, partners seek separation, and even friends are becoming more circumspect. The glitzy picture of a courageous couple changing their fate has become hazy. There are too many unresolved issues, too many disputes, too many instances where the story didn't add up. And now, in royal circles, the empathy has given way to a colder acceptance. Harry is no longer seen as the lost brother, but rather as a man who made his decisions and must now deal with the fallout no matter what. Charles the King, there isn't a villain in this story. It's just two people who bet everything on a new life and are gradually realizing that everything has a price, including fame, freedom, and love. As the noise around them becomes quieter, what's left is the reality they create. One choice at a time, one step too far. His alleged focus on the legacy of the crown rather than the rehabilitation of a runaway son is reportedly fading. Too many lost allies,